Hi guys, I hope the audio is coming fine. Thank you for joining the live stream today. Today, my life has changed a lot. Not a lot, but towards a significant direction, hopefully at least. Some incredible things have been happening from the morning and for the last few days, which is why my time management is almost out of the window. Okay. For the guys in the comment section, the live stream has started. Okay, hopefully you all refresh, or because without refreshing, often the YouTube doesn't show you. So yes, Kantara 2's teaser released today. Okay, first the plan of action today. We will discuss the Kantara 2 teaser a bit, and then I will ask for a bit of help from all of you guys, especially from my Kannada viewers. And then we will get into a small 3-page paper from JSTOR about a lot of Western academics criticizing India's stance on India-Ukraine-Russia war and calling it reactionary. Okay, and I was checking out the profile of the one of the major authors. I think 2-3 scholars wrote it. Okay, 3 पेज का पेपर लिखने के लिए 4 आदमी लगा उसको, ठीक है. तो anyway, there was one woman, one female scholar who has written about 5-6 papers criticizing India's foreign policy on Ukraine-Russia war. Okay, so the frustration is visible in the West about India's rise and India's this very original and powerful geopolitics strategy. And as you all might know that today in US as well, 3 Palestinian students have been gunned down by unknown gunmen. So who knows what they were doing, what they just students are doing other unstudently things, and we wonder who those gunmen were. But so far again, as usual, Ankit Shahi principles seem to be in place, whether it's ICC and Indian Olympic Association growing balls all of a sudden and banning people from banning people with balls from playing in women's sports, etc. Now unknown gunmen going around doing directional stuff, and then no one really stopping Israel from doing it. Arabs not preventing Israel from doing anything, which Ankit Shah had predicted long back. So far it's majorly in line with Ankit Shah's principles, and I actually spoke with Ankit Shah on Twitter as well. So that's another of the incredible things that have been going on in my life. So I asked him about a very specific concern I have about his vision, which is what if Saudi Arabia, okay, it's all fine that MBS has this plan. What if the people, the really orthodox clerics who don't have that sort of a long vision about Saudi Arabia or de-dollarization or their oil reserves ending, etc., diversification of their economy, what about people in whose heads these concepts are not going in? Will they take things lying down? Obviously no. And doesn't that leave room for massive repercussions or even backfirings? Okay, that what if MBS himself is kicked out or his family is kicked out? It's a kingdom. These things happen in kingdoms forever. Or what if there is a division in the family, that the MBS faction of the family who wanted these visions for Saudi Arabia, what if they are kicked out? So Ankit Shah gave me some satisfying answers, which it's like 3 or 4 points that no matter what happens, people who come in power, he's saying that they have the vision for de-dollarization anyway. And he gave me some examples of how MBS has given very clear messaging and warning, like executing 81 criminals in one day just to give out a message that this is going to happen, this is the future of Saudi Arabia, no one is going to be able to stop me, we will do this for Saudi Arabia. So and he gave some other satisfying answers as well. So after the justifications he gave, it kind of seemed foolish on my part to even contemplate that even then, what if that like a group of small or stupid radicals still come to power? That seems a little implausible at the moment after getting Ankit Shah's justifications, that because first of all, they will be so much powerless in front of MBS. Secondly, their number might end up being so small. And thirdly, if someone is that stupid to not get Saudi Arabia, MBS's vision for Saudi Arabia, How can such a stupid man even then come to power? So the only remaining problem we might see is that uh, Indians who want Saudi Arabia to have that radical vision for their benefit in India, they still might not take it lying down. In which case, of course, they might still have those views in their mind, but no such budget for radicalization or doing radical things is going to come from the West or from the Middle East in India. That is the conclusion we are so far getting on. So Udaynidhi's dialogue fits here. I didn't meet Ankit Shah. We spoke on Twitter message box inbox. Unknown gunman, Rashteen makes me remember Sitaram Goelji's work on perversion of language. Clearly, we are doing something right. I hate the term reactionary. Yes, and reactionary is very annoying of a term, as if we are not supposed to react to things, as if we are not supposed to react to attacks. If you get hit, punched on a face, you're not. If you hit them back, you're reactionary who hit a person. Oh my God, why did you react to getting hit? Okay, so why didn't you have the vision to hit him first? Why did you hit someone after you got hit? That's reactionary. That's the argument of calling someone reactionary. I don't get it fully. Now, Kantara 2 teaser, okay? What was that? Are you kidding me? Now, I don't want to use abusive words again, like last time, like my last review of Kantara and its music, etc. But it's tough. In English, I don't think there are really any powerful words that justify the feelings you get when you watch things like Bahubali, Kantara, and now the Kantara 2 teaser. You have to use the F word or holy shit, holy fuck, etc. Those things from here and there, okay? Because you can't just call it beautiful, awesome, gorgeous, okay? These words are very, useless for a teaser like Kantara 2. Now, first of all, um, I think Kantara 2's teaser is the best teaser I have ever seen in my life, because see, teasers are just a promotional material, okay, like item songs. It has nothing to do with the story. It's just one extra promotional instrument or tool. And for some films, it's an extra instrument, crutch as well, promotional crutch. कि चलो बाद में कोई देखेगा कि नहीं देखेगा, यहाँ से थोड़ा व्यूज से थोड़ा पैसा कमा लेते हैं एटलीस्ट, और लेट्स क्रिएट सम बज एंड लेट देयर पेड जर्नलिस्ट से सी now this movie has done such a great thing, now they have made a teaser even, oh my god, even though no one's really excited about the movie itself. So I had not really too many expectations from the teaser. When I heard few days back that the teaser is coming out, I thought, okay, the teaser is coming out, so who cares? I know the movie will be pretty good, but I'm not excited about the teaser. I'll be excited about the trailer at least. Then this teaser comes out. What is going on here? So first of all, if a group of people who can make a movie like Kantara in just 16 or 8, what was the budget? 20 crores or something like that, right? Or including dubbing, I think they crossed about 21 crores. So um, if they make a movie like Kantara in 21 crores, now that they have a budget of 125 crores, they're obviously going to make something insanely more significant. But I had no expectations of anything significant, because I mean, first and foremost is the music, okay? Because most people are going to talk about the look, etc., right? I mean, the look is obviously incredible. There's no question about it. I mean, again, we are going to have to discuss these things, that what is the rest of India doing? What is Bollywood doing with twice, thrice the budget of these movies? What a look is that? What makeup? What color correction? What color grading? Huh? So what expression? So, but the music, I had absolutely no expectations of the music being so good. First of all, since I have not heard each and everything composed by B. Ajnish Lognath, I was under the impression that he is good with basically great melodic compositions, or even folk fused melodic compositions like the ones he did in Kantara. Now in Kantara 2, in this teaser, he has gone to the MM Kiravani levels, okay, which is, it's epic, which is the equivalent of epicness of Hans Zimmer or John Williams, but completely with Indian instruments. तो इतना epicness कहाँ से लाया, और and so much time and effort they have put in just for a teaser. I can't fathom what the hell is going to happen in the trailer and then in the movie, and especially the Veena. Okay, I have some extra weakness and special love and sympathy for anyone who uses Veena these days, because for people who follow classical music will know that Veena has become a very underrated and underappreciated and underused instrument these days, because it's probably the most difficult classical instrument to play. Okay, Indian classical instrument. First of all, any Indian classical instrument is insanely difficult to play. There's a barrier to entry to Indian classical music instruments, which is very, very high. Okay, unlike guitar or piano. Even in piano, if you can't play any piano, okay, if you just hit a few notes together, even then it sounds more or less good. You can I mean for a layman's ears you can do something on the piano which will make them sound which will make it sound like, oh yeah, that was a nice thing to play. Okay, maybe you can't play anything significant, anything professional level, but you can make some good nice sounding sounds. Okay, acoustic guitar is another big example. To accompany with a commercial song, you need hardly about 8 9 months of practice and learning of acoustic guitar. Okay, but after that, for playing professionally really good guitar, then again, on that level every instrument is same in the world. Okay, but in Indian classical music instruments, for basic even making the sounds come out of the instrument, for that even you need huge practice and huge learning. For example, till this date I have not been able to create some sounds with any bansuri or flute that I have ever tried. I can't even create a saregamapa with a flute. Okay, so sitar even, the distance between the body of the sitar and the strings are this much. Okay, whereas in a guitar it's this much. So the starting point of sitar is that difficult. Veena is tougher than even sitar, which is why people have moved away from Veena a little, I think, to a large extent. So Veena is extremely difficult to play. You have to drag the strings very much, and you can't really do those insanely fast, which we call shredding in Western music, which is the fast runs. Okay, like those sorts of things are not usually done in Veena. But the point about Veena, how to best use Veena, has been very well portrayed in the Kantara 2 teaser itself. That is exactly how a Veena is supposed to be used and applied. Okay, which is a very thick sounding, thick, rich. Best word would be in Bengali. It's called gambhirjo. Okay, very serious and वो personality जिसको कहते हैं. That sort of sound has come out of the Veena in Kantara 2's teaser. And they have added some more instruments for, I think, upper octave and lower octave as well. I have not listened to it that carefully. I'll listen to it 2 or 3 times to discover what else was going on in the Veena music. And then after the Veena main melody happens, the about 1000 percussions go on, all southern Indian percussions. And during that scene, when all the percussions are playing together, okay, taka 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 taka, ye ho raha hai, and then repeat, and one after the other, all the names come up. Okay, in which the languages come up, that is language mein release ho raha hai, is language mein release ho raha hai. In that part, you almost feel like, okay, this is a huge like movie celebration is going on. You are in the movie theater. If you have reasonably good speakers and if you listen to it in loud volume, you will feel like you are in the theater. And the mixing, I can't believe there are such insane mixing is possible. I mean, KGF had insanely great mixing. KGF is one of the best mixed films we have had in Indian film history, but that's very Western. In terms of almost completely Eastern music arrangement, but with some subtle Western layers, but applied in a conventionally Western background score way, which is very epic, etc. Uh, Now, this is what we call a hybrid decolonized future. Okay, every time when someone asks J.Sai Deepak that what is decoloniality according to you, that we will just go to our office on bullock carts, wearing wooden sandals and wearing topless, men being topless and wearing a dhoti and pagdi. That's the decoloniality we are talking. You are talking about. We are going to stop speaking English. We are going to get rid of each and everything Western. Uh, and J. Sai Deepak has repeatedly pointed out that no, we are talking about a hybrid future, and this is the hybrid future. For example, in Kantara 1, Varaha Rupam, a devotional song essentially about Varahamurti, is arranged in a heavy metal way. Okay, and no one had any problem with it. That why are you disrespecting our culture? Why are you taking a Western culture, Western metal, to arrange a devotional song for a Hindu god? So this is decoloniality in action, guys. This is true decoloniality. We will take the best of everything, but not at all forgetting what we have. The priority will be what we have. Priority will be promoting what we have, and we will use what good things we have. We have learned from the West as well. So Kantara 2 again is going to be an example of that, and I think apparently to a much larger scale. Um, uh, I can't believe any. I never thought any background score would cross the epicness of Bahubali in Indian cinema, because the one thing Indian background score composers are not that great at is epicness in background score. Okay, Ajay Atul do it to a large extent, but Kantara did in some. Kantara 1 had it done in some scenes, but Bahubali 1 and 2 are the epitomes of epicness in background scores, which John Williams and Hans Zimmer are known for. Now, if V. Ajnish Loknath has done this kind of a background score, this is out of the window. I mean, this is so much beyond expectations, and you all have to admit, be honest with yourself. Did any of you have any expectations that a Kantara 2 teaser would be of this proportions, would be this great? Weren't you blown away with each scene? With when Rishabh Shetty looks at the camera for the first time, what are those designs on the eyes? What is going on here? Would you have ever thought of it? Had you ever dreamt that Kantara 2 was going to be like this and the teaser was going to be like this? And the best part, I think, is that the story is set around 350 to 400 AD for a dynasty, during the dynasty of a family called Kadamba dynasty, okay? Which, again, I had never heard of. Thankfully now, because of Kantara 2, we are going to learn of this dynasty as well. Because we don't really have too many movies made on 300, 400 AD or even BC, right? Bahubali is a fictional story, but it's more or less set around, I think, 1000 AD, 1100, 1200 AD. Okay, so this is really great that finally we are going to get some 300, 400 AD movie, and not portrayed in a comical way, portrayed with great research and with great budget, and people who have such great vision and attention to detail, who can make a 20 crore movie look like a 200 crore movie. Now they have gotten 125 crores to play with. Okay, you can't believe what's going to happen. And now some honest disclosing things, disclosing some things, which is, you see my voice is a little sore. That is because I'm preparing for some voiceover audition reels for Kantara 2, because obviously I really want to be involved in this. And so far, for those of you who don't know, I have done the translation for the Kantara 2 Bengali teaser. And how the work came to me is absolutely a coincidence. I mean, people might not believe this, or atheists might not believe this. People might think that I made that I made the video defending Vararupam, so maybe I kept sending my video to Hombale Films to tell them that please give me work, please give me work. I had no such expectations, because I didn't even know Kantara 2 was going to happen. By the time Kantara 2 got announced officially that it is going to happen, I did not come to my mind down, let's approach them for work. So what happened is, one fine morning, just like 1 week back, since I go to sleep in the morning, I have slept about 2-3 hours. Then my friend calls me up, my friend Moinak, who is basically one of the composers of the song I Loma Barite, which has crossed, I think, 5.5 million views today. As I said, the biggest Durga Puja hit this season in Bengali Durga Puja season music. So he runs a studio, he along with another school friend of ours who mixed the song I Loma Barite. So he gets a call, he calls me up and says that there's this one paragraph of translation you'll have to do. Wake up right now. You can't do it later. So I tell him, no, I'll do it at night. Let me sleep now. He says, no, this is very big. You have to do it right now. So he sends me the one paragraph in WhatsApp, and he says that it has already been translated. You just check it if it's good or not, since you know Bengali to a large extent. He's not that good in Bengali, Moinak. And when I get the message, I see the dialogue is light. This is not just light. This is a vision. And then immediately I figured out what is that. That is the scene from Kantara, which is Roshni. So my sleep went to hell immediately. And I rectified the translation, and it was a very badly done translation. I rectified it immediately, sent to him, and by the time he said that now we'll have to look for a voice for such a scene, and recommend me if you can think of someone, and record this in voice note and send it to me. I already, in my sleepy voice, I already did sort of a Panjuldi Daiva voice and sent it to him in voice note only. The script got approved. Then he got an actually great voiceover artist who has done the voice, whose voice has been approved in the teaser. he recorded it and got it approved. So as for now, that is the update. We don't know if the entire project is going to come to us. Since now it has been announced, a lot more people will approach them that they also want to get involved and they also want to do the work. So our fingers are crossed. Hopefully it comes to us, but hopefully I get to do the translation. Hopefully I get to do some of the characters in the voices. So I'm going to do audition reels for Guligadev, Panjuli Dev's normal voice when he's saying "Court jaoge, court yukti." I will give you the verdict on the stairs itself. That scene, okay. And the police, Shiva's casual voice, Shiva's angry voice, and then Devendra Suttur's voice. All that I'm going to record. So since my room is not soundproofed, so I went to my friend's studio only, Moinak's studio, to record the Guliga Dev's voice and Panjuli Dev's voice. That's why my voice is kind of destroyed at the moment. And after that, at home, I'm going to record the other voices. And then I'm going to make one sort of audition reel sort of, and which I will hope that all of you will share and tag people from Hombale, Rishabh Shetty on Instagram, etc., especially the Kannada people. Tell them that this guy is a huge fan of Kantara, and I will do it myself as well. He's a huge fan of Kantara, and he like has an extra attachment with Kantara. And what a so do check out his audition reel. Otherwise, they are not going to check out the audition reel just because someone uploaded it on YouTube. And of course, Moinak will send them anyway. And but look at the coincidence side of it. If you are not an atheist, you know what is going on, right? That out of so many people in Kolkata, my friend gets the project for Kantara 2, where I am involved, and I get to do the translation for Kantara 2 when I have such an emotional bond with Kantara, and when my channel has been associated with Kantara. My channel got such a boost because of Kantara. So this is what Rajarshi Nandi calls out of syllabus questions, okay? Can't believe what's happening. How to approach them to participate in it? I do voice stuff too. Make a reel, do the same thing. Download some footages, clips, okay. Go to a studio, record it, and on top of that, put your voice and upload it and tag them. Tell them that see, I am also auditioning for it. Hindi translation ki tumi korecho? No. I haven't done the Hindi translation. Let's see if any comments are coming. এতে ভূত আর ভবিষ্যৎ সব দেখা যায়, ইয়েস দাদা সেই রুদ্রবীণাটা, ইয়েস হোয়াট আর রুদ্রবীণা, কলেজ স্ট্রিট কান্নাড়া, বাঙালি ট্রান্সলেশন আর ডাবিংটা ফাটাফাটি হয়েছে, ইয়েস থ্যাংক ইউ, ইয়েস হিজ নেম ইজ স্পন্দন দা, দ্য পার্সন হু হ্যাজ ডান দ্যাট ভয়েস, হি ইজ আ ভেরি সিনিয়র ভয়েস ওভার আর্টিস্ট. আউট অফ কনটেক্সট, হাউ ডিড ইউ বিকাম আ মিউজিশিয়ান? I was playing cricket in my school days. I was a fast bowler, and because of asthma, I couldn't continue. Every time the winter came, I had to sit at home. Okay, and I was getting severe asthma because I had just 2-3 years prior to that, I had come back from the hills. Okay, I used to study in the hills up till class 6. So when I came back to Kolkata in class 6, my body couldn't handle the pollution of Kolkata. So up till class 8. Class 7, 8, I tried playing cricket, but the entire winter I used to be bedridden. So by that time in Kolkata, a huge rock revolution was going on, rock music revolution. That a band called Fossils had come up, led by a person called Rupam Islam, who kicked Bengalis into action. Okay, before that, Bengalis were stuck just with Rabindranath Tagore's music and Kazi Nazrul Islam's music. There had been no significant development after that. Then Nochiketa broke the barriers to some extent. Kobi Shuman broke the barriers to some extent. But it was not sort of a mass thing that everyone quit everything else they were doing and started making music. Rupam Islam and the band Fossils had the same effect on Bengali society what Saurav Ganguly did for cricket. Okay, like after Saurav Ganguly became famous in the Indian team, everyone in every home, people started playing cricket or even started getting trained in cricket, not just playing gully cricket. That's the sort of thing Fossils did. And because of essentially Fossils and Rupam Islam, most of us became musicians today. The entire 90s generation, people who are now professional musicians in Bengal, 99% of them have become musicians because of Fossils. It doesn't matter if they remained rock musicians or not, but a start to listening different kinds of music happened because of fossils. A start to picking up the guitar or drums, all that happened because of fossils. And after that you keep on listening to other music, and then you get into arrangement, mixing, or become a background scorer. All those sorts of things have happened. But people born after 90s, 99% of them have become musicians because of fossils. And then so even we decided, okay, chalo ab hum bhi ek band karenge. And there was a rich culture of Bengali original music, a little and which is not just film music for a longer time, but that was always in the upper middle class suburb scenes of Kolkata. Okay, people who only studied in English medium convent schools, they used to do rock music. A lot of them had English rock bands from the 70s, 80s in a place called Park Street in Kolkata. But Bengali rock music was kind of started by a band called Mohinar Ghoraguli. That too in the 80s as well. And before that, the lead vocalist of Indian Ocean, who had passed away, I think about 10-15 years from today, he also had one of the first bands in Kolkata. Of course, they were not completely rock band. Rock music wasn't even really popular in the world even when they were doing it. They had a band called Niharika. So they had sort of a fusion band back then, drums, tabla. But then Rupam Islam nailed everything. He brought insanely different sounding lyrics, different approaches to lyrics, different imagery. Arrangement was completely different. What is Rupam Islam? Rupam Islam is the name of the vocalist of the band Fossils. Rupam Islam has gone haywire nowadays. Yeah, now how long really can you keep up one genre of music? That's the problem with any musician or music group who go on for a long time. I think Metallica have maintained it to a large extent, but that they are doing the exact same genre which they were famous for. Now they get criticized for doing that. It's just another same Metallica song. Now Fossils have changed their sound completely, which is why they are getting a new audience now. Only time we get to listen to the authentic Fossils is if we go to the live concerts, where even Rupam Islam's voice is no longer that sort of a distortion guitar sounding voice he used to have in the first 3 albums. His voice has changed a lot. Again, even Linkin Park changed their sound completely after Minutes to Midnight, and they became a band for young high school girls. Okay, so they get criticized for changing their sound. Metallica gets criticized for not changing their sound. So if you are in the music scene for a long time, you will get criticized no matter what. Did you see Porno Shobori Shap Dada? No, I don't see Bengali movies much because ঘুরে ফিরে সেই there will be some secular politics bullshit. So when people say that keep politics out of cricket, keep politics out of music, it's annoying to hear that, because all they are doing is thrusting politics through their movies. So Kantara 2 are not political movies. Okay, they I don't think they are even doing it consciously. They are obviously not doing it consciously, these decoloniality things, etc. But it's their mind that is programmed that way anyway. Now it's getting promoted, and they are good hardworking people who have attention to detail. So by chance we are getting some great decolonial movies which can be called politically a decolonial project. So I'm obviously going to appreciate the how politically significant this movie and these movies are, obviously. Dharma Adhyatma. Rupam Islam is not entirely a commie. He is a secular, but remember, Rupam Islam is the only Bengali musician in the history of Bengali music to openly criticize Stalin for being an evil dictator. Just last year's Fossils Jhar concert, okay, I went in Nico Park. In front of 5,000 people, he said Stalin is a bad guy. Do you listen to Fakira? Yes, I really love Fakira. I don't like their Hare Krishna version, but I like their album Itorpana. And but more importantly, listen to Timir Bishwas's solo album. Okay. Cricket is sports and Bollywood is entertainment are two myths of India. I think that the look of Rishabh Shetty also represent Prabhu Parshuram. I think it might not be Parshuram, it might be a form of Shiva only, because after all he has a Trishul, whereas Parshuram should have a axe of some sort, right? Did you go to a college or institution for your training as a musician? How did you start professionally? No, I did not go to any college to get trained as a musician. I'm not even very good in theory. I know almost no Western classical theory. I know even lesser Eastern classical music theory. I learned guitar from a very senior musician who was a classical guitarist. I learned from him for about 3-4 years. And after that, I got into music programming in around 2016. before that I learned sound engineering properly from a senior sound mixing engineer in Kolkata. But after that, since when you are in the scene for so long and all your friends, all your musicians are getting into the scene in some way, so when you remain in the scene, these things fall in place. You just have to be patient and you have to be humble, etc. Okay, so even like it's not like I'm a huge famous composer or programmer. So if I had even a little more contacts, or came from a even more significant family, I would have a little more success. But it's okay, whatever's happening. And if I had a little more people skills, if I could sit down and talk nicely with producer after producers, have meetings after meetings, when they ask you to change your song 100 times and give absolutely weird suggestions, your face has to be fully accepting and happy about it, which I can't really do. Which is why Moinak and Mollarda, they are the composers with whom I mainly work, who are my school friends. They do all that hard work in terms of recruiting the work, okay? Because if you ask me to make a bullshit change to my song, to the song I've already arranged to a large extent, I might even say yes, but you will understand from my face that inside I'm telling you, kya banchot kya bol raha hai. So that sort of thing can't work in the industry. So it's a very complex situation. Aditi Munshi broke the barrier of Kirtan and made it potentially popular for the not so religious people and young generation. Before that, Kirtan meant something boring or funny. Yeah. He has an axe as well as a Trishul. It resembles Parshuram. However, instead of Trishul, he had a bow. Acha. He also has an axe. Oh, I did not see the axe. The important observation from Kantara is Hindus always take Gram Devta, Sthan Devta, micro, to Virat Rupa of Ishwar Bhagavan, macro, whereas Christians cancel local deities by saying false. Yes. Or it's non-Aryan. I think that look of okay. Is he a Muslim and anti-Hindu? His mother is Christian, his father is Muslim, but both of them were atheists themselves, and he is also a hardcore atheist. Love from Shiliguri, a singer in West Bengal. Okay, any important comments? Then otherwise we can start. আলো এই আলো সব স্পষ্ট করে দেয়, কিন্তু এই আলো সেই আলো নয়, এটা দর্শন. Okay. Now let's start this paper we are going to discuss, where people are hilariously trying to cope about India's stance on the Ukraine-Russia war. Hello, bhai, Sangram Jit Rai Chaudhary. I am lucky to be introduced to Kirtan in real childhood. Yeah. Fun fact: almost all old Shiva murtis found before 1000 AD have khargas, parashu, etc., but not Trishul, except the Trishul is the weapon of Devi. Interesting. Yeah, which is why Shiva, another name for Shiva is Parashuhasta, Khanda Parashave. All these are names for even broken axe. All these are names for Lord Shiva. Kantara represents the deep connection between tribal and Hindu culture, which is the same. Yes, and guys, we need to discuss this. That interestingly, that they are. Are iska buffer ko kya hua? That they are releasing it in Bengali, which is insanely significant, because the last time a non-Bengali the repeatedly non-Bengali films used to release in Bengali was during the times of Amitabh ke zamane mein, hai na? When the composer, producer, director, everyone used to be Bengali, and even the heroine used to be Bengali sometimes. Lyricist used to be Bengali. After that, it basically stopped. Non-Bengali movies stopped releasing in Bengal. I wonder what made Rishabh Shetty and Homale Films think of releasing it in Bengal. And again, why won't I appreciate the politics behind it? That it breaks the myth of a north-south divide to such a large extent that oh yes, see, they have so much regional pride, that's why they only do movies in their language, or even every other movie releases in their language. No one cares about Bengal. Now the South Indian himself is saying, okay, I'll release it in Bengal. Show me how many of you are going to watch it in Bengali. Let's see now. Bangla cinema pashe daran beriye jabe ebar. The problem is that Hindus need to take over the entertainment media for Hindu Dharma to thrive, make Hindu Dharma. Yes, and this is what exactly Rishabh Shetty, Hombale Films are doing at the moment. Shulpani, yeah. It later changed and Shiva also started having Trishul. Interesting. And just few days back, I was listening to a song called "Enjoy Enjami," a Tamil song, produced, arranged, composed by Santosh Narayanan, who is one of my favorite music composers. And his stepdaughter has sung it. She's a Sri Lankan Tamil woman, and another guy has rapped on it, whose name I keep forgetting. But that guy is very strictly Dravidian politics wala banda hai. Magar kya बढ़िया गाना है, क्या करे. All these commies are such great artists. So someday it's going to change soon. Kantara is already changing it. Check out this paper. So according to this paper, India has gone from Nehruvian non-alignment to Hindu nationalism's reactionary internationalism. Okay, guys, what we are doing at the moment apparently is not non-alignment. This is Hindu nationalism's reactionary internationalism. How clueless are these guys? So this is one part of a much longer paper. So we are discussing this. Every section has been released as a separate paper as well. Thankfully, we don't have to read the entire bullshit. But this is a three-page portion. So India's approach to the Russian invasion of Ukraine and geopolitics today is not an example of Nehruvian non-alignment strategy, but an quote-unquote India-first strategy underlined by the BJP's Hindu nationalist ideology. Hindu nationalism can be broadly defined a set of primordialist ideologies unified in their belief that India's essential national identity is Hindu. The form of Hindu nationalism that the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party and its affiliates assert today is commonly called Hindutva. Originating in the 1920s, it is ethno-nationalist, majoritarian, and under Modi, populist. Kahe? So, ethno-nationalist, guys. Hindutva is ethno-nationalist, apparently. Okay? Yeah. Ethnicity par bhi Hindutva kam karta hai. I mean, on the face of it, they are factually wrong. Absolutely clueless, illiterate, uneducated on what's going on in India, what even our points are. Steelman word nahi suna hai zindagi mein ye word. The impact of Hindu nationalism on Indian foreign policy has generally been ignored or assumed inconsequential by geopolitical analysts, okay? The impact of Hindu nationalism on Indian foreign policy has generally been ignored or assumed inconsequential by geopolitical analysts. Fair enough. Yet, the BJP government has altered Indian foreign policy in accordance with its ideology. One example of this is India-Israel relations. During the tenure of the Indian National Congress from the 1950s to 1990s, the Indian government did not engage in official diplomatic relations with Israel. This was due to the Nehruvian-influenced perception of Israel as a colonial, Western-aligned religious state akin to Pakistan. Oh, acha. Israel was equal to Pakistan according to Nehruvian regime. ये तो मैं पहली बार सुन रहा हूँ. Only after Congress moved away from non-aligned positions did India establish diplomatic relations with Israel. But it was the rise of the BJP from 1998 onwards that radically shifted India-Israel relations. The BJP government's embrace of Israel stemmed from shared ideological affinities with the Jewish state, with the BJP aspiring to turn India into an ethno-religious state and the identification of a common enemy in Islamic terrorism. This culminated in Modi's visit to Israel in 2017 as the first Indian Prime Minister to do so. Yet today, many commentators continue to push the idea that India's quiet approach to the Russian invasion of Ukraine is in keeping with India's historic Nehruvian non-alignment. Yeah, more or less. It's more, I would call it proactive non-alignment instead of just reacting after something has happened. But non-alignment was not about self-interest or ethno-nationalism, but pragmatic idealism. It had an anti-colonial edge and aimed to find a third, more moral way between warring sides. ये सेंटेंस में तो बहुत रस मिल गया डिस्कस करने का. एक मिनट, मेरे उस मॉनिटर में ये पेपर खुला है, so let me just turn the comment section on from my phone, okay? This is going to be fun. This sentence was hilarious. Come on, guys, tell me what you all think about this sentence. Yeah, being away from conflicts is not pragmatism. And You are not supposed to have your own priorities in mind, okay? Look at the premise of this sentence. Non-alignment was not about self-interest. What? What the fuck is going on here? What is this sentence supposed to mean? How is this woman an expert on geopolitics? She's a scholar on geopolitics. These people get funded for studying, researching on geopolitics. And such a person is saying India's vision up until now was not about self-interest. वो तो true है, सच है. That's great. But her premise is that it is not even supposed to be about self-interest. She's appreciating the Nehruvian regime for not having self-interest. This is sort of a self-goal as well, that someone who is defending Nehruvian regime is saying that, you see, they were so good that they did not have any self-interest in mind. This is like Shaila Rashid confirming the worst fears of the Maulana Modi wing and saying that, yeah, see, BJP is doing such great leftist things. What is this? Non-alignment was not about self-interest. On ethno-nationalism, हिंदुत्व में ethnicity का कहाँ का है कुछ? But it was about pragmatic idealism, okay? I have a big problem with this phrase called pragmatic idealism, which is also known as practical idealism. Now, ये तो भाई scholar है, इसलिए practical के जगह pragmatic लिखा है. But there used to be a famous political drama series called The West Wing, okay? It was directed and written, screenplay was written by a person called Aaron Sorkin, who is, according to me, the greatest screenplay writer of all time, who has written the screenplay dialogues for everything like Suits, etc. So, not Suits, sorry, The Social Network, okay? So, whenever you see those fast, witty dialogues, okay, fast conversations going on, and you are blown away with each and every sentence, like there is in Social Network, you will know it's by Aaron Sorkin, okay? So, he had come up with this bullshit term for the fictional Democratic politicians in the series called The West Wing about the American president, and he called it practical idealism, okay? तो उनका आइडिया ये था कि I'm not sure if he came up with the word, but that was what was the main point of the series as well. That, you see, right is bad, right wing is bad, left wing is bad. There is something in between, and that something in between apparently is called practical idealism. Now, both of these words, practical and idealism, is absolutely subjective and very relative to every different person. It's different, okay? What is practical to you is not practical to someone else. What is ideal to you is not ideal to someone else. So how can you have, you can ride on this high horse of arrogance and unearned moral superiority, saying that, yes, you see, your demand is very impractical and it's not really ideal, it's very bad. What I am suggesting, that one is practical and ideal, bro. This is a bullshit term to begin with. Okay, let me turn the chat into live chat, okay? Chat filter, all messages. Pragmatic idealism is equal to practical bullshitism. Carl Sagan, Haryana, UP, Bihar. Caste politics is still there, but it's not upper lower anymore. It's basically basic dominating each other. Also, caste politics played a big role in Karnataka 2023. Yeah, this is what I'm realizing these days, that whenever we get sometimes stories about some lower caste person getting beaten up or something, in some kind of operation news, most of the times it's not even the Brahmins doing it. There are plenty of other castes who do really horrible things to their lower castes as well. So when we hear those headlines, as a former commie, and every commie I know will probably think first and foremost, oh, Brahmin ne kiya. But it's very an infeasible thing to conclude, because again, Brahmins are just a 4.3% population, most of whom are commies. A lot of them are anti-caste Hindutwadis. So pro-casteist Brahmin जो कि actively oppress करेगा, किसी के मुंह पे मुतेगा, ऐसा pro-casteist Brahmin बचा कितना percentage है भाई? So it's not really a problem to be that worried about. India was never a major player during Nehru regime. Our concern wouldn't have even mattered. The only option was to be non-aligned in the Cold War. Yes, and self-interest nahi tha. That was such a great thing. Ideal practicalism. Guys, which buffoon wrote this paper? Let me tell you the name. Her name is... रुको एक बार गूगल कर लो. जब मैं यहाँ ये पढ़ता हूँ, तुम लोग थोड़ा इनको गूगल करो. तो इनका नाम है सैरा एंडरसन, ऐसा कुछ नाम था. अरे नाम वाम कहाँ गया? कैन यू सी द नेम? ऑथर का नाम ही हटा दिया. ओ या एलेक्जेंड्रा, या ये देखो, Alexandra Barrow, Paul Van Hooft, but mainly Alexandra Barrow. And look at all the other papers, okay? All are by Alexandra Barrow. So, setting the scene, the Ukraine war in Indo-Pacific, India, a problem for the Western Indo-Pacific strategy and its democratic values discourse. Question mark दिया है. हिंदी रूसी भाई भाई, इंडिया सोवियत नॉस्टैल्जिया, और इसके लिए भोसरी के पुतिन को सपोर्ट कर दिया. The Russia-India arms partnership. All this by Alexandra Barrow, okay? This is hilarious. Look, Brahmins can be dangerous, but Islamists can be terrorists. If you understand this, I assure you are a liberal. Yes, we learned Bhadralok politician in British Bengal. Bhadralok are upper caste Bengali Hindu. Yeah. We have made Tita Nehru into a cult figure. Yes. Okay, now rest of the paper. This is going to get more juicy now. Non-alignment was not about self-interest or ethno-nationalism, but about pragmatic idealism. It had an anti-colonial edge and aimed to find a third. Okay, now this sentence also. नेहरूवियन रेजिम का जो जियोपॉलिटिक्स था उसमें एक एंटी कॉलोनियल एज था. हमारा अभी का जो जियोपॉलिटिकल स्ट्रेटेजी है उसमें कोई एंटी कॉलोनियल एज नहीं है, ठीक है. हमारा बहुत प्रो कॉलोनियल, प्रो वेस्ट वाला एज है, ऐसा इनका मानना है. See, this is the problem with not being an academic. Okay, I will just mainly laugh and sigh and beat my forehead कि क्या लिखा है. But since I'm not an academic, so I'm not being able to come up with counters to such insanely hilarious allegations. I mean, I get better arguments from my commie friends because with them I can actually have a conversation that no, you see, this is where you are wrong. इसमें क्या उत्तर दे? ये तो ऐसा है कि किसी ने पेपर लिखा है. You see, dogs have 4 wings and they can fly. Where are you going to start your argument? So India's current foreign policy does not have an anti-colonial edge, apparently. So S. Jaishankar saying that West's problems are their problems, and the West should realize that their problems are not our problems, and they should also remember that they never treated our problems as their problems. When Pakistan repeatedly bombed us for years and years, they never gave a fuck. They probably don't even know that Pakistan, India and Bangladesh are different countries, okay? Every time something happens in Bangladesh, I see people, Americans on Instagram and Twitter saying that, you see, Indians are such a stupid people, that's why they are doing these things. So, now we don't have an anti-colonial edge. Okay, what did the Nehruvian regime do also? They attempted to find a third, more moral way between warring sides, okay? Also, again, subjective, because your morality might be about what is the best interests for your country, or your morals might be taking the side of Palestine, or your morals really might be about taking the side of Israel. So I'm not talking about moral relativism here, but priorities matter, and based on different priorities, different morals can be formulated, okay? तो इस स्कॉलर को पसंद नहीं आया कि अभी हमारा मॉडल क्या है, और हमारा मॉडल तो अभी है कि हमको तो अपना देखना है पहले. So now they used to find a more model way. Now we don't find a model way anymore, okay? India's approach to the Russian war in Ukraine is much more about the quote-unquote India first foreign policy that has proliferated under Modi, than it is about idealism or finding a non-combative third way. Yeah. We did not find a non-combative third way. Interesting. As if we really funded people with arms and jumped into the war. We did not do a non-combative third way, guys, okay? This is even by standards of even English grammar, this is fucking wrong. You might say that your non-combative third way was not something I agree with, okay? Your way of non-combative third way was not a very good non-combative third way. But it was a non-combative third way literally because we did not do any combat and it was a goddamn third way. Why are they saying that it was not a non-combative third way? And the sentence before that as well. It was India's this geopolitical strategy is not about idealism, guys. Why? काहे idealism नहीं किया? Next is features of the BJP's reactionary internationalism and India first geopolitical thinking. The Modi government's approach to the world order shares with Russia a desire to realize a multipolar world. Oh, ye bhi kharab hai. Interesting. In which they can both play intermediary roles from India's perspective as a middle power or potential great power. This third explanation for India's approach to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the BJP's India first vision of world order, deserves closer attention. Hindu nationalist multipolar geopolitics. The BJP views international relations as transactional and strives to realize a multipolar world in which India as a civilizational state can play competing civilizations off against each other. Okay. एक सेंटेंस ठीक बोल दिया, उसके पहले वाला और उसके अगले वाला भी गलत बोल दिया. Look at this. So the premise is that BJP views international relations as transactional, okay? This is sort of a new thing that BJP has discovered. See, this is why a lot of right-wingers say that Modi has become popular to a large extent, more than he deserved, because of leftists themselves. How much leftists accuse him for a lot of things which right-wingers count as credits, okay? सब कुछ मोदी कर रहा है, सब कुछ जो मुझे पसंद नहीं आ रहा है मोदी कर रहा है, जो कि सच में मे बी मोदी ने नहीं किया है, मगर वो जो चीज़ लेफ्टिस्ट को पसंद ही नहीं है वो तो राइट विंगर को पसंद है, तो इसलिए राइट विंगर सोच रहा है कि वाह 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 ये सब कुछ मोदी ने किया है. सो हियर ऑल्सो वेरी लेजिट स्कॉलर is crediting BJP with coming up with the idea that, you know, how about we have transactional relationships in international politics? How about that? No one has really thought of that before. This is the first time. This is BJP coming up with this idea, okay? No one else has done it. No one else thought about it. BJP views international relations as transactional. Let me have a sip of coffee. Dada, you should have a fake accent like our left arts dumbos. That sounds cool. Subha pet saaf nahi hua. Carl Sagan, like I said, it is becoming less in Hindus. Where are you guys commenting to, replying to a guy called Carl Sagan? I can't see any guy called Carl Sagan. I'm repeatedly thinking you all are talking about the actual Carl Sagan. It is becoming less in Hindus. It is far less in urban Hindus. However, the crypto Christians and Jat Sikhs are the biggest caste a-holes in rural northern part of India, at least. Okay. So, and then she says that, yeah, India is a civilizational state. Chalo, itna to admit kiya, ye to badi baat hai. But the very next sentence, India is trying to play off competing civilizations against each other. ऐसा बोल रहा है कि हमने इजराइल पैलेस्टाइन वॉर शुरू करवाया, हमने रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर शुरू करवाया. If a country did not do things to start off that war, how can that country be accused of playing off competing civilizations against each other, भाई? English grammar ही भूल है यहाँ पे. The BJP's Hindu nationalism impacts their geopolitical thinking and attitude towards Russia. देखो, मौलाना मोदी विंग बोलेगा कि ऐसा तो है नहीं, मगर ये लोग क्रेडिट दे रहे हैं. तुझे पता नहीं है बीजेपी हिंदू नेशनलिज्म डाल रहा है जियोपॉलिटिक्स में, मुझे पता है. For example, Subramaniam Jaishankar, the Indian Minister for External Affairs since 2019, sketched out the increasingly predominant view of the future world order in his book, The Indian Way. Jaishankar envisions a world where nationalism has triumphed to the extent that there is no longer need of an alliance-based order, but instead a quote-unquote more transactional view of international relations. अच्छा, जयशंकर ने ये बोला है, इसका मतलब है जयशंकर ने डिस्कवर किया है ट्रांजैक्शनलिज्म इन इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस. ओके, क्या बात है. एंड यहाँ पे तो नेशनलिज्म वर्ड यूज हुआ है, तो बार बार ये हिंदू नेशनलिज्म और एथनो नेशनलिज्म अब तक कहाँ आ रहा था, वो सब एक्यूज किया. अब जस्टिफिकेशन के लिए एविडेंस जो सेंटेंस दिया उसमें सिर्फ नेशनलिज्म है. वाह वाह वाह. तो नेशनलिज्म बाय डिफॉल्ट मीन्स हिंदू नेशनलिज्म एंड एथनो नेशनलिज्म. In this world of frenemies, understood as a kind of cynical realpolitik, India must engage with competing powers like the US, China, the EU or Russia at the same time. Now, again, she's adding her own sentence here. She's quoting Jaishankar in the very next sentence, adding her bullshit conclusion that playing powers off against each other. Arey no, where is India playing powers off against each other if we are not starting those conflicts? The conflict is starting, we have business relations with both of them, then we are saying that yes, we will see what best business we can have. If तुमको लड़ना है लड़ो, नहीं लड़ना है नहीं लड़ो. How can that be an accusation of playing powers off against each other? This is basic English grammar. In the worldview of the Modi government, the India First agenda is strengthened and legitimized by the ethno-nationalism of Hindutva. A Hindu India, Bharat, is thus a superior civilizational force which, like China will not only reassert itself on the world stage but disrupt the Western built order. Okay, चलो अच्छा है, ये तो मौलाना मोदी विंग का सब काउंटर यहाँ पे दे रहा है. ভারত আবার জগত সভায় শ্রেষ্ঠ আসন লবে. Freedom from Western international systems and norms. Norms, guys. International systems से हमरा freedom हम लेने का सोच रहे हैं, वो तो ठीक है accusation. मगर Western norms से हम हट रहे हैं, which means we are going to get back to casteism. The BJP shares with other right-wing populist governments a desire for national difference and independence from international liberal norms and values. जेसाई दीपक कहाँ पे है? जेसाई दीपक के को एक दिन रात में उठा के ये पेपर पढ़वाएंगे, ठीक है, एज अ नाइटमेयर. Let me check some comments now. She is validating Sri Aurobindo here that Sanatan Dharma is nationalism. Yes, basically. जयशंकर ने नहीं बोला, इसने बोल दिया. My socialist friend sent me audio criticizing NEP because it prioritized career over knowledge. भाई जॉब नहीं है तो चिल्लाते हो, अब job oriented education. Oh my god. Okay, now who is called second? But yes, let's not call them by caste. Okay. So BJP shares. तो we are moving away from liberal norms and values, guys. Very bad. Ultimately, while China poses the greatest threat to India, what they both share is a disdain for current international systems thought to embed Western dominance and belief that if such a system is of use, it is only instrumentally. Yes, but China is actually countering that to a large extent and very viciously, and I would say wrongly. There is no oppositions of the CCP who is winning anywhere in China. There are countless opposition parties of BJP who are doing great in many parts of the country. That is the difference. As Jai Shankar puts it, the rules are set for the entire world as well as for the global commons. These are supported by narratives that serve the West as well. These narratives serve the West well while diminishing its competitors. In this regard, much of the Modi government's approach to Russia's invasion of Ukraine has more in common with what Pablo de Orellana and Nicholas Michelsen have described as reactionary internationalism, which is the crux of how right-wing populist leaders like Putin, Trump and Erdogan approach international relations in the 2020s. अभी रुको भाई, धक्का मुक्की मत करो, और भी आ रहे हैं इस लिस्ट में. Reactionary internationalism opposes Western universalism and liberal norms in favor of an alternative centered on national difference and resisting the influence of other states. Now, ये जो sentence है रिएक्शनरी इंटरनेशनलिज्म, इसका तो हमने थोड़ा मजाक उड़ा लिया है पहले ही, मगर उसके बाद का जो एक्यूजेशन है ये और भी फनी है. तो वी आर अपोजिंग वेस्टर्न यूनिवर्सलिज्म एंड दैट इज़ अ बैड थिंग अपेरेंटली. ओके, वी आर नॉट सपोज टू अपोज वेस्टर्न यूनिवर्सलिज्म. ये क्या लिखा जा रहा है यहाँ पे? अगर यूनिवर्सल है तो वो वेस्टर्न कैसे हुआ? ऐसा अगर कोई मैजिकल यूनिवर्सलिज्म होता जो कि स्वयं कृष्ण भगवान से आया है या लॉर्ड शिवा से आया है, तो वो तो वैसे ही यूनिवर्सल हो ही जाता. उसमें ईस्टर्न यूनिवर्सलिज्म, हिंदू यूनिवर्सलिज्म डालने का ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ता. अगर कोई एडजेक्टिव डालना पड़ रहा है उसके सामने, इसका मतलब है उसमें जिसका एडजेक्टिव डाला जा रहा है उसका वर्जन ऑफ यूनिवर्सलिज्म है और उसमें उनका थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा प्रायोरिटी तो रहेगा ही भाई. तो तुम बोल रहे हो कि वेस्टर्न यूनिवर्सलिज्म और फिर उसको ऐसे अप्रिशिएट कर रहे हो कि जैसे कि वो वेस्टर्न यूनिवर्सलिज्म है नहीं, वो नॉर्मल यूनिवर्सल है, सबके लिए इक्वल है चीज़ें. एंड देन लिबरल नॉर्म्स हमने हटा दिया है. ओके, ऐसा लिबरल नॉर्म हटाया है कि बीजेपी के जो अपोजिशंस है वो सब जीतते जा रहे हैं हर स्टेट में. ओके, और ऐसा लिबरल नॉर्म्स हटाए हैं कि बीजेपी और तृणमूल कांग्रेस में पॉलिसी वाइज ज़्यादा अंतर नहीं है. The main difference between Trinamool and BJP is what? That BJP does do some sort of Hindu things, at least symbolically. The bigger difference is who thinks BJP is for them. Okay, Trinamool's voter base is 80% is Muslim. BJP's voter base is about what? 95% is Hindu. That is the only difference. In terms of policy, hardcore policy, in terms of, one other big difference between BJP and Trinamool would be that BJP has done some privatization. Trinamool has not done almost any privatization. But these are very, very small nuts and bolts differences, guys, okay? And the one other main difference would be in terms of execution. But all the differences I'm saying are just here and there. I think only the execution part of Trinamool and BJP would be the biggest difference. But all the other policies I'm stating, they are just Trinamool यहाँ है तो BJP यहाँ है, Trinamool यहाँ है BJP यहाँ है, ऐसा है. But in terms of execution, obviously BJP is the king. But what we are learning from this paper apparently is that there is a gigantic difference between BJP and everyone else, and BJP has completely upended the liberal chutiapa जो अभी तक हो रहा था, which is not the case. तो opposes Western universalism, काहे liberal norms in favor of an alternative centered on national difference and resisting the influence of other states. अच्छा ये तो honest just observation है. In this regard, India's approach to the Russian invasion of Ukraine is unsurprising. Unsurprising है. तो जब किया था तब सरप्राइज क्यों हो रहे थे बोल के पूरे दुनिया में. The reality is Modi's government has a great deal in common with Putin's approach to the international order. अच्छा. Reactionary internationalism is the crux of how right-wing populist. oh ये तो हो गया. यहाँ पे खत्म. ओके चलो अच्छा हुआ. बाकी का जो है वो एक और सेक्शन में फिर एक और पेपर में है. तो यहाँ पे ये पेपर हमारा खत्म होता है. Now we will start Shakti and Shakta after checking some comments. What a hilarious paper. Let me turn the chat here as well to live chat. Salad doglapan hai. Melting pot is the reality which Singapore understands. The Singapore, despite being pluralist, is stable. And you see Singapore's GDP, oh my god, what a small country Singapore is, and what a GDP they have, my god. GDP is one city state basically. अरे ये मीट को क्या हुआ? एक मिनट रिफ्रेश करने दो. हाँ तो compare Singapore with Indonesia. Indonesia is one big gigantic country compared to Singapore. Their GDP is smaller than Singapore, which is a small city state. Bengal means business. Yes, Bengal means Adani leaving or not leaving, and us not even getting a clear news on. Carl Sagan here. Now I'm getting his comments finally. Is he blocked from my phone or what? What weird thing. In our West Bengal, we found urban intercaste marriage between Brahmin caste and Boiddo caste in 1960s period. I think intercaste marriage can destroy casteism in our society. Yeah. ऐसे पेपर पढ़ा करो. You should review Peter Zihan. His name I keep hearing. Who he is I forgot. हाँ ममता সেই স্পিচ কান হলে গেল. বলছে যে ভারতের সব ভাষা বলতে জানে. Okay, today we have a very significant chapter in Shakti and Shakta to discuss. Okay, the chapter is called the Tantras and the religion of the Shaktas. This is going to be great, especially people who come from Shakta families here. I mean, they of course know this stuff already. In this Jagodhatri Puja, I went to a friend's uncle's place for their home Jagodhatri Puja, where they were. That's a Brahmin family, and after reaching the place I realized that yes, they are totally actually trained. वो दीक्षा हुआ है. I think even in Tantra traditions as well, because I could see some things which gave me the vibe at least that I think they know Tantra. Their grandfather and grandmother were also known for doing tantric practices, and this is the first time I attended a friend's puja where I sat down and watched a puja. So a lot of things were surprising and sort of a culture shock to me, because all my life when I used to go to a puja in any friend's place, the entire time we were hanging out in the balcony or in the terrace. This is the first time I saw the puja, and that elderly person started the puja from the night before. And we reached at about 7:30 or 8 in the evening. He was going on doing the puja by himself. He was doing the puja himself. That was the biggest surprise of all. And so because of the impression I've gotten from Bollywood, which is that any serious devout Hindu, especially if they have a tilak and they do puja part, they are very rude, strict and very angry all the time. So he was also doing puja part in the same way. And there's one funny story I have to tell you all what happened there. So at one point, he required a particular samagri to be brought to him, and his wife was not around. Okay, so he was calling him, and there was a lot of noise going on. So she was not coming to him, and I was the only one in the room, okay, watching the puja. So that elderly gentleman kneels down and basically crawls towards that samagri. Okay, So I walk up to him and try to hand him that samagri to him. Okay, what it was I forgot. So he immediately says, no, stay away. So I thought, what the fuck? Is this because of casteism? Because before that he asked my name and stuff. So I got a little perturbed. But even then I didn't feel hurt or angry or something. I looked at it as a scholar that, interesting. So casteism exists in this way. So that was a hunch I had. But I also had a hunch that it might be because I'm not entirely like clean or purified enough for the puja spot, because I was kind of entering in the puja area for handing him over the samagri. Okay, so that was confirmed later on when one of his daughters was trying to get in, and he even told her to stay the fuck away. And then after his puja was done, he got up and said to my friend that make sure he goes after he has dinner and stuff. Do not let him go away without having dinner. And also another myth that was kind of busted was that since I was assuming that he will be a very angry and rude person, so when his sons sit down with him to do the puja and the main homa, they were making small mistakes, and he was kind of smiling that why are you doing this, do instead that other thing. Okay, so all the bullshit myths that we have been taught by Bollywood, man. Casteism, yes. Jagodhatri is equal to Jagodhatri, one who sustains Dharan, Ma Durga. Oh, even do you know there's a Ma Durga connection with Panjuli and Guliga as well? I was reading it up on Wikipedia just yesterday that apparently Panjuli and Guliga had a confrontation between the same about the same piece of land, and their fight was stopped and mediated by Ma Durga. And after that, they became basically equals, Guliga and Panjuli, and later on Guliga started worshipping Panjuli himself. In southern Indian temples, bhaktas cannot touch the Shivalingam or Murti. Yeah. Okay, now check out this chapter. The Tantras and religion of the Shaktas. There's a long sentence that starts in a bracket. I don't know if it's important. Let's see. What follows this bracket is a translation done in literal fashion from the German of an article by the learned Sanskritist Professor Winternitz entitled Die Tantras und die Religion der Saktas. Oh, published in the Berlin Monthly. So this is a translation of that article. Interesting. The Ostashiatschi Zeitschrift 1916, Heft 3. The article does not show a complete comprehension of its subject matter, nor was this to be expected. In European fashion, sadhaka is translated as magician, and sadhana is thought of as quote-unquote magical evocation, and mahayogini as great magician. This is the more unfortunate as the professor evidently does not like magic. It is true that in Indra Jala Vidya, whereas there is sadhana to achieve its purpose, but what is of course meant is sadhana in its religious sense. We hear again of idolatry, quote-unquote, as though idolatry is not in the sense in which those who make the charge use of the word, as if it's a criticism. We hear again of idolatry as though idolatry is not to be found in any part of the world, okay, as if idolatry happens only in India. Mantra is still, quote-unquote, gibberish or trash and so on. These are the terms used by that person. After all, many of these matters are as much a question of temperament as argument. The mind which takes these views is like that of the Protestant who called the Catholic Mass, quote-unquote, hocus pocus. And this has been a long-sustaining argument of the Hindutva wing or even the decoloniality people, that you are just mistaking, you are just trying to be a Protestant in the Hindu fold when you're trying to be secular. It is superstitious trash to him, but a holy reality to the believer. Such criticism involves the fallacy of judging others from one's own subjective standpoint. Moreover, not one man in thousands is capable of grasping the inner significance of this doctrine, and for this reason it is kept secret, nor does any writing reveal it to those without understanding. The learned professor has also evidently no liking for quote-unquote occultism and India faddists, okay? India faddists के अच्छा ये जो Indian culture का जो अच्छाई है ये सब एक fad है, that sort of a view. But the former exists whether we like it, whether we like its facts or not. This culture, Nevertheless, in reading this article, one feels oneself in the presence of a learned mind which wills to be fair and is not to be stampeded from investigation on hearing the frightful word Tantra. Several appreciations are fair. Particularly noteworthy is the recognition that the Tantra Shastras or Agamas are not merely some pathological excrescence on quote unquote Hinduism, but simply one of its several presentations. Nor are they simply scriptures of the Shaktas. Their metaphysics and ethics are those of the common Brahmanism, of which all the sects are offshoots, whatever be the special peculiarities in the presentment of doctrine or in its application. Before this, Professor Albert Grunwedel had said in his book Der Weg nach Sambhala, Munchen 1915, quote, "The Tantras are nothing but the continuation of the Veda." He calls also the Tantras the quote unquote model room, okay, Aktsal of Indian art. The Aktsal is a room in an academy of art in which castes are kept as models for the students. Okay, castes meaning not caste, CAST, वो जिसमें die cast करते हैं वो caste. तो ऐसा बोला जा रहा है कि Tantras are the caste of Indian art. Wow. He adds, quote, "These scriptures furnish the aesthetics, and in fact, we find that in the later books of the Kala Chakra, the whole figurative mythology of that system has been built upon this scheme. Whence this evolution of forms arises, is needed another question which will bring many a surprise to the friends of national Indian art. Talking is easier. The Jains too have such things." End quote. I may add that the fact that some Jains carry out some so-called quote-unquote tantric rites is not generally known. Vaishnavas and Bauddhas also have these rites. Notions and practices generally charged to Shaktas, generally accused of Shaktas, only are held and carried out by other sects. It is to be remembered also that there are many schools of Agama. Some of them state that other Agamas were promulgated, quote unquote, for the delusion of men. It is needless to add that here, as elsewhere, to the adherent of a particular Agama, his particular scripture is good, and it is the scripture of his opponent which is, quote unquote, for delusion. Orthodoxy is my-doxy in India, also amongst some sects. Shakta liberalism, being Advaita Vedanta, finds a place for all. This is a very weak pro-caste argument. If you annihilate caste, what happens to those skills, culture? Simple. Teach to as many Aztec Hindus as possible. Get rid of castes. Stick to dharmic Hindu identity. Okay. It cannot therefore be said that the Agamas are wholly worthless and bad without involving all Hinduism in that charge. On the contrary, the professor discovers that behind the quote-unquote nonsense, there may be a deep sense, and that quote-unquote immorality is not the end or aim of the cult of the mother. He also holds that if the tantric scriptures contain some things to which he and others take objection, such things in no wise exhaust their contents. There is nothing wonderful about this discovery, which anyone may make for himself by simply reading and understanding the documents, but the wonder consists in this, that it has not hitherto been thought necessary, where it has been possible, to read and understand the Tantra Shastras first, and then to criticize them. All the greater then are our thanks to the learned Sanskritist for his share in this work of justice. India remains... Okay, now the bracket has ended, and now the piece by the professor, who has actually tried to understand it very well, but after understanding it, he has criticized it. So therefore we are going to now listen to his understanding of Tantra in English, and with justification from the author himself, and the author who has been said to be a legit guy by Rajashanandi himself. India remains still the most important country on earth for the student of religion. In India, we meet with all forms of religious thought and feeling which we find on earth, and that not only at different times but also all together even today. Here we find the most primitive belief in ancestral spirits, in demons and nature deities with a primeval, imageless sacrificial cult. Here also is a polytheism passing all limits, with the most riotous idolatry, temple cult, pilgrimages, and so forth. And side by side with and beyond these crudest forms of religious life, we find what is deepest and most abstract of what religious thinkers of all times have ever thought about the deity, the noblest pantheistic and the purest monotheistic conceptions. All that is present here. In India, we also find a priestcraft as nowhere else on earth, side by side with a religious tolerance which lets sect after sect with the most wonderful saints exist together. Wow. See, a guy who at the end of the day is concluding that this is just magic, idolatry, etc. But he is being fair in his observation, research, and criticism as well. Okay. Uh, it's tough to call it fair criticism because he's calling it magic from his Christian perspective, but he's being as fair as possible from while doing it from a Christian perspective. Interestingly, because he's at least saying that there's a religious tolerance that comes very obviously to Tantra, that which lets sect after sect with the most wonderful saints exist together. Here there were and still are forest recluses, meaning vanaprastha, ascetics and mendicant monks to whom renunciation of this world is really and truly a matter of deepest sincerity, and together with them hosts of idle mendicant monks, vain fools and hypocrites to whom religion is only a cloak for selfish pursuits, for the gratification of greed for money, of greed for fame, or the hankering after power. So he's saying all sorts of people are there. There are sincere people and there are not sincere people. From India also, a powerful stream of religious ideas has poured forth over the West, and especially over the East, has flooded Central Asia, has spread over Tibet, China, Korea, and Japan, and has trickled through the further east down to the remotest islands of the East Indian archipelago. And finally, in India, as well as outside India, Indian religions have often mixed with Christianity and with Islam, now giving and now taking. Indeed, sufficient reason exists to welcome every work which contributes in one way or other to a richer, deeper, or wider knowledge of Indian religion. I would like, therefore, to draw attention in what follows to some recently published works of this nature. These are the exceedingly meritorious publications of ArthurAvalon, the author here, the main author of this book. These are the exceedingly meritorious publications of ArthurAvalon with reference to the literature of the Tantras. Though these works we obtain for the first time a deeper insight into the literature of the Tantras, the holy books of Shaktism, and into the nature of this much abused religion itself. So he is himself saying that this religion is too abused. It is true that H. Wilson, in his essays on the religious sects of Hindus, which appeared from 1828 to 1832, has given a brief but relatively reliable and just exposition of this religion. M. Monier Williams, who has treated more fully of Shaktism, worship of the goddess, and the contents of the Tantras, has only to tell terrible and horrible things. He describes the faith of the Shaktas, of the worshippers of the feminine deities, as a mixture of sanguinary sacrifices and orgies with wine and women. Similar is the picture of this sect presented by A. Bharat, who on the one hand indeed admits that the cult of the mother is based on a deep meaning, and that the Tantras are also full of theosophical and moral reflections and ascetic theories, but is not thereby prevented from saying that the Shakta is quote-unquote nearly always a hypocrite and a superstitious debauchee, even though many amongst the authors of the Tantras may have really believed that they were performing a sacred work. R.G. Bhandarkar, to whom we owe the latest and most reliable exposition of Indian sectarianism, happens in fact to deal with the Shaktas very summarily, whereas the greater part of his excellent book deals with the religion of the Vaishnavas and with the sects of the Shaivas. He only devoted a few pages to the sect of the Shaktas, which evidently seems unimportant to him. Interesting. He speaks, however, both about the metaphysical doctrines and about the cult of this sect, within every way the cool, quiet objectivity of the historian. He's talking about Bhandarkar here. The exposition is only a little too brief and meager, so all the more are Avalon's books welcome. The most valuable is the complete English translation of a Tantra, the Mahanirvana Tantra, with an introduction of 146 pages, which introduces us to the chief doctrines of the Shaktas, and with the exceedingly complicated, perhaps purposely confused terminology of the Tantras. If we have been accustomed, up till the present, to see nothing else in Shaktism and in the Tantras, the sacred books of this sect, except wild superstition, occult humbug, idiocy, empty magic, and a cult with a most objectionable morality, and distorted by orgies, then a glimpse at the text made accessible to us by Avalon teaches us that all these things are indeed to be found in this religion and in its sacred texts, but that by these their contents are nevertheless in no wise exhausted. On the contrary, we rather find that behind the nonsense, so called, there lies hidden, after all, much deep sense, and that immorality is not the end and aim of the cult of the mother. Okay, so the guy who is actually criticizing is even he himself is saying that the so-called immorality is not the point of this concept called Tantra or Shaktism. We find that the mysticism of the Tantras has been built up on the basis of that mystic doctrine of the unity of the soul and of all with the Brahman, which is proclaimed in the oldest Upanishads and which belongs to the most profound speculations which the Indian spirit has imagined. This Brahman, however, the highest divine principle, is, according to the doctrines of the Shakta philosophers, no quote-unquote nothing but the eternal primeval energy or Shakti, out of which everything has been created, has originated, has been born. Shakti, energy, however, is not only grammatically feminine. Human experience teaches also that all life is born from the womb of the woman from the mother. Therefore, the Indian thinkers from whom Shaktism has originated believe that the highest deity, the supremest creative principle, should be brought nearest to the human mind, not through the word father, but through the word mother. And all philosophical conceptions to which language has given a feminine gender, as well as all mythological figures which appear feminine in popular belief, become goddesses, divine mothers. So before all, there is Prakriti, taken from the Samkhya philosophy, primeval matter, or quote-unquote nature, who stands in contrast to Purusha, the male spirit, and is identical with Shakti. And this Shakti is again mythologically conceived as the spouse of god Shiva, Mahadeva, the great god. Mythology, however, knew already Uma or Parvati, the daughter of the mountain, the daughter of the Himalaya, as the spouse of Shiva. And so Prakriti, Shakti, Uma, Parvati are ever one and the same. They are only different names for the one great all-mother, the Jagannmata, the mother of all the living. The Indian mind had been long since accustomed to see unity in all multiplicity. Ahaha. This is what this concept has been approached very beautifully in Sri Aurobindo's book, The Life Divine. There's a caste debate going on there or what? Okay, acha hai. So the Indian mind had been long since accustomed to see unity in all multiplicity. See, I'm sure you all understand, guys. For those of you who might be a little weak in English, do you have any problem in understanding this concept? Unity in all multiplicity, okay. You all might know the actual Sanskrit translation of this. That what is the Sanskrit translation of this? Let me know if you all know. That even if there are many things, there are different parts of it. They are parts of one whole. That is the unity in multiplicity. जिसका एक डिस्टॉर्टेड सेक्युलराइजेशन का डिफेंड करने का वो टर्म है यूनिटी इन डाइवर्सिटी, वो यहाँ से ही आया है. Just as one moon reflects itself in innumerable ways, okay? Just like one moon reflects itself in innumerable waters, in the same way, the Devi, the goddess, by whatever other names she may be otherwise called, is the embodiment of all gods and of all energies or Shaktis of the gods. Within her is Brahma, the creator, and his Shakti. Within her is Vishnu, the preserver, and his Shakti. Within her is also Shiva as Mahakala, great father time, the great destroyer. But as this one is swallowed up by herself, she is also Adya Kalika, the primordial Kali. And as in Bengali I think it's pronounced as Adda Kali, which is why Adda Peeth, right? So Adya Kalika, the primordial Kali. And as a great magician, quote unquote, Mahayogini, she is at the same time the creatrix, preservatrix, and destroyer of the world. She is also the mother of Mahakala, who dances before her, intoxicated by the wine of Madhuka blossoms. As, however, the highest deity is a woman, every woman is regarded as an embodiment of this deity. Devi, the goddess, is within every feminine being. This conception it is which has led to a woman worship, which undoubtedly has taken the shape in many circles of wild orgies, but which also, at least according to the testimony of the Mahanirvana Tantra, could appear in a purer and nobler form, and has surely done so. So he's saying that, yeah, that might be the case, that बहुत सारे orgies हो रहे हैं, but at least according to the testimony of Mahanirvana Tantra, it could be done in a more noble and pure form. To the worship of the Devi, the goddess, who is the joyously creative energy of nature. Okay, to the worship of the Devi, the goddess, who is the joyously creative energy of nature, belong the quote-unquote 5 true things, Panchatattva, through which mankind enjoy gladly, preserve their life and procreate. Intoxicating drink, which is a great medicine to man, a breaker of sorrows and a source of pleasure. Meat, mamsa, of the animals in the villages, in the air and in the forests, which is nutritious and strengthens the force of body and mind. Fish, matsya, which is tasty and augments procreative potency. Roasted corn, which easily obtained, grows in the earth and is the root of life in the 3 worlds. And filthy physical union with Shakti, the source of bliss of all living beings, the deepest cause of creation and the root of the eternal world. But these Panchatattvas may only be used in the circle of initiates, okay? Dikshits, jinka diksha hua hai, initiates, and only after they have been consecrated by sacred formulas and ceremonies. The Mahanirvana Tantra lays stress on the fact that no abuse may be made of these 5 things. Who drinks immoderately is no true worshipper of the Devi. Immoderate drinking, which disturbs seeing and thinking, destroys the effect of the sacred action. In the sinful Kali Yuga also, only the own spouse should be enjoyed as Shakti. In everything, the Tantra takes all imaginable trouble to excuse the Panchatattva ceremonies and to prevent their abuse. In the Kali Yuga, sweets like milk, sugar or honey must be used instead of intoxicating drink. And the adoration of the lotus feet of the Devi should be substituted for the physical union. The worship should not be secret, indecencies should not occur, and evil, impious people should not be admitted to the circle of the worshippers. True, it is permissible for the hero or Veera, who is qualified to the sadhaka or magician, quote unquote, to unite in secret worship with other Shaktis. Only in the highest heavenly condition, Divya Bhava, of the saint do purely symbolical actions take the place of the 5 true things. Yeah, and this is what we learned in ArthurAvalon's book Introduction to Tantra Shastra as well, that Pashu Bali karna hai ki nahi. If you are doing Shakti worship, you can avoid doing Pashu Bali only if you are a person who has a lot of Divya Bhava, and you can't just claim that you have Divya Bhava. You have to be your guru has to declare that yes, this guy has Divya Bhava, and he has to basically give you permission that yes, since you have Divya Bhava, now you can interpret Mamsya, Madhya as something else, and therefore you can avoid doing Pashubali and do something and sacrifice something else instead. But for everyone else, there is that the texts are at least crystal clear. Okay, I've seen this time a lot of debate, which is tough for me. I being against animal sacrifice and animal cruelty, etc. But if I was really a practitioner of these things, I would have to do those things. So I'm just saying that I'm not going to do those things because I'm not a practitioner, and I'm in general against animal killing. But it was tough for me that I was going into debates and saying that अरे भाई पशुबली है करना ही है. There are people with their anti-animal cruelty ethos. They are going on saying that yes, therefore now Tantra is also against Pashubali. That is not the case. Pashubali you don't have to do only if you have high amounts of, or if you have a lot of heavenly condition or Divya Bhava. But to the worship of the Devi belong in the first place mantras or formulas and bijas, monosyllabic mysterious words like aim, cling, ring, etc. Further also yantras or diagrams of a mysterious meaning drawn on metal, paper or other material, mudras, special finger positions and hand movements, and nyasas. The nyasas consist in putting the tips of the fingers and the flat of the right hand with certain mantras on the various parts of the body in order by that to fill one's own body with the life of the Devi. Honeyman, Dada, can you do a stream on schools of Indian philosophy, especially Nyaya, system of logic, arguments, etc. and otherwise? अरे भाई उसके लिए ना मेरा बेस्ट बुक सीरीज है, ये देखो ये 3 जो बुक है ये देख रहे हो यहाँ पे लाल, दैट्स द एंटायर हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडियन फिलोसफी. वहाँ पे तुम एग्जैक्ट जो मांग रहे हो वही वहाँ पे है, बट आई जस्ट नीड टू फिनिश 1 or 2 more books before I start that. Maybe after I finish this book only we will start that only. Just wait for a few more months. And check our history of Indian philosophy live streams, okay, from my playlist. We have already done about I think 50-60 pages of that series already. There we have approached this to some extent already. But I think when we restart, we will restart from the beginning only, because I've also forgotten everything. And there are many more new audiences as well. So we are going to start that entirely from the beginning. This highest and final aim, okay? Yeah. By the application of all these means, the worshipper renders the deity willing and forces him into his service and becomes a sadhaka, a magician. For sadhana or magic because the sadhana or magic is the chief aim, though not the final aim of Devi worship. This highest and final aim is the same as that of all Indian sects and religious systems. Moksha or deliverance, the unification with the deity in Mahanirvana, the great extinction. The perfected saint, okay, the caller reaches this condition already in the present life and is one who is liberated while being alive, okay, Jivan Mukta. But the way to deliverance can only be found through the Tantras. For Veda, Smriti, Puranas and Itihasa, because Veda, Smriti, Puranas and Itihasa are each the sacred books of the past ages of the world, while our present evil age or the Kali age, the Tantras have been revealed by Shiva for the salvation of mankind. The Tantras thus, on the strength of their own showing, indicate themselves to be relatively modern works. इसमें थोड़ा debate है कि ये modern है कि नहीं, but if we are really taking scriptural justifications for birth-based casteism, then again Tantra is very anti-casteism. Remember that. They are saying that, yeah, whatever casteism we needed or for birth-based casteism, that was for other ages. In Kali Yuga, we can't do that. Various acharyas, what do you do, Rishi? Do you know more than them? No, then say. Bhai, no one is stopping to read commentary and Vedas, Purana, Vidhi, even if you are married. God, we'll talk about preachy. Yeah, okay, no, I don't want to get into this for now. I have some interesting points to note as well. Because, you see, where exactly are we talking about birth-based casteism that we are justifying that it should happen or not? There, I think, in terms of policy positions, there is a lot of ambiguity. Like, even if we are having a debate with a pro-casteist person, what are we exactly talking about? Okay, are we talking about, for those of you who are justifying birth-based casteism here, are you all saying that you all will go around disrespecting someone below your caste? I think most of you all are not. If that is the case, I don't have a problem with you. If you want to marry within your own caste, if you say that people should marry within their own caste, if you stick to just saying and not doing anything much more than that, then I'm fine with you. You marry whoever you want. You ask your members of your family to marry whoever you want. Marry in your own caste or not, I don't care. If there is a very distinct traditional ritual in your family, or if you are from a temple, okay, you are the Purohit of a very specific temple, and you want only your kids to go on with that tradition, even then I don't have a problem with it. I'm not going to go around with Dalit priests and promote them in each and every temple now. If that's your family tradition, you maintain it. That's the best way to maintain it anyway. Okay, because remember that if something is public property, then it ends up being nobody's property. So where exactly is our disagreement between the pro-casteist person and the anti-casteist person? There I think we have a problem. If you say that someone who is not a Brahmin should not go around teaching Vedas, okay, fair enough. कुछ समझ में उसको आएगा भी नहीं, वो क्या teach करेगा. If you say they should not read or study Vedas, of course I don't think nobody says that anymore. then again I have a problem. But if you don't say that, I don't have a problem. So where exactly is our disagreement? Birth-based, when I say I am against birth-based casteism, I am talking about those particular things that you see a lower caste person and you shoo him away, or say that no, or you say all the time that yes, pro-casteism thing is a great thing and no bad thing ever happened because of it in India's past. Those sorts of things are the problem. But if you want to be pro-casteist in your personal life, I don't have a problem. In the present age, the Tantra thus, So in the present age, in the Kali Yuga, Vedic and other rites and prayers have no value, but only the mantras and ceremonies taught in the Tantras. And just as I think this is a controversial thing to say, isn't it? This ye to काफी confidently बोल दिया. Is there a consensus on this? He's saying in the present age, Vedic and other rites and prayers have no value, but only the mantras and ceremonies taught in the Tantras have value. Wow. And just as the worship of the Devi leads equally to thoroughly materialistic results through magic and to the highest ideal of nirvana, so there is a strong mixture in the worship itself. Okay, ये sentence थोड़ा confusing है, पुराने दिन का English है ये. Just as the worship of the Devi leads equally to thoroughly materialistic results through magic and to the highest ideal of nirvana, so there is a strong mixture in the worship itself of the sensuous and the spiritual. Characteristic is Mahanirvana Tantra 5. Okay, तो वो पेज नंबर वगैरह दिया हुआ है. The worshipper first offers to the Devi spiritual adoration, dedicating to her his heart as her seat, the nectar of his heart as the water for washing her feet, his mind as a gift of honor, kya bhasha hai, the restlessness of his senses and the thoughts as a dance, selflessness, dispassionateness and so forth as flowers. What a sentence, my God, I have to underline this. Kya line hai, I'll read this once again. The worshipper first offers to the Devi spiritual adoration, dedicating to her his heart as her seat, the nectar of his heart as the water for washing her feet, his mind as a gift of honor, the restlessness of his senses and thoughts as a dance, selflessness and dispassionateness and so forth as flowers. But then he offers to the Devi an ocean of intoxicating drink, a mountain of meat and dried fish, Matsya Madhya Mamsa, a heap of roasted corn. These are the terms I keep forgetting. A heap of roasted corn in milk with sugar and butter, nectar and other things. Besides the Panchatattvas and other elements of this most sensuous worship, which is calculated to produce the intoxication of the senses, and in which also bells, incense, flowers, lights and rosaries are not lacking, there is also the quiet contemplation, dhyana, of the deity. And likewise, we find side by side with mantras which are completely senseless and insipid, such beautiful sayings as, for instance, O Adya Kali, who dwellest, who live in the innermost soul of all, who art the innermost light, O Mother, accept this prayer of my heart, I bow down before thee. Okay, a person who is seemingly saying that these are all occultism etc., at least is trying to be fair. He is not writing this with an evil intention ke chalo dekhe kitna gali de sakte hai de denge. He is finding out things to appreciate. The Shaktas are a sect of the religion which is commonly designated Hinduism, a term which is a facile one but which has not been chosen very happily. The word embraces all the sects and creeds which have originated from Brahmanism through a mixture with the cults of the Aborigines of India. तो Aryan invasion theory hai. With the cults of the Aborigines of India, and thus present a kind of degeneration of the old Brahmanical religion, but which still hold fast more or less to orthodox Brahmanism and so distinguish themselves from the heretical sects of Buddhists and Jains. So you again see this sentence again proves that why even if Aryan migration theory is 100% true, not invasion, even then it does not matter. कि ये तो सबको मिलके चलने का एक formula ही है अच्छा सा. In reality, there is, if you ask me what is the main thing that makes me proud of being Hindu, this will be it. That what the worst thing you are accusing Hinduism of, that it's not even from India, it came from outside India, even then आके ऐसा एक सिंक्रेटिक कल्चर बना लिया, उसमें मैं प्राउड नहीं हूं तो क्या हूं. In reality, there is strictly no sense in speaking of Hinduism as a system or as one religion, because it is impossible to say where Brahmanism ends and where Hinduism begins. गलत ट्रैप में पड़ गया. We are also altogether ignorant as to how much the old Brahmanic religion had already assimilated from the faith and the customs of the non-Aryan populace, because it is not admissible to classify without further ado all animal worship, all demon worship, all fetishism and so on as quote-unquote non-Aryan. In reality, all sects of Hinduism which are related to a worship of Vishnu or of Shiva are nothing but offshoots of the original Brahmanism, which they never however deny. Yes. So also Shaktism has as a special characteristic merely the worship of the Shaktis, of the female deities, with its accessory matter of the Panchatatvas, the worship in the chakra or circle of the initiates and so on. For the rest, its dogmatics or if it be preferred, its metaphysics as well as its ethics are altogether those of Brahmanism, of which also the essential ritual institutions have been preserved. In dogmatics, it is the teachings of the orthodox systems of the Vedanta and the Samkhya, which meet us also in the Tantras clearly enough, sometimes even under the trash of senseless magic formulas. And as far as ethics are concerned, the moral teaching in the 7th chapter of the Mahanirvana Tantra reminds us from beginning to end of Manu's code, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Buddhist sermons. Notwithstanding the fact that in the ritual proper of the Shakta there are no caste differences, but in Shakti worship all castes as well as the sexes are equal, yet in harmony with Brahmanism. क्या है भाई, इसको लेकर प्राउड नहीं हो तो क्या कर सकते हैं हम? How can someone not be proud of this culture? The castes are recognized. तो ब्राह्मणिज्म का जो अगर वो मतलब बहुत कास्टिज्म, इवल कास्टिज्म है भी, उसको बिना रिजेक्ट किए जो कि एंटी कास्ट सेक्ट तैयार हो रहा है, वो भी उसके साथ एक फ्रेंडशिप मेंटेन कर रहा है. This is why you see all the ancient and medieval anti-caste religious reformers like Purandara Dasaru etc., they were never anti-Hindu in order to be anti-caste, which is why I am against birth-based casteism in the ways I mentioned, but I will never support a commie's arguments of being against casteism, because his solution is end Hinduism to solve casteism. So in the notwithstanding the fact that in the ritual proper of the Shakta there are no caste differences, but in Shakti worship all castes as well as the sexes are equal, yet in harmony with Brahmanism. The castes are recognized with this modification that the fifth caste, the Panchama, the so-called tribals or the Adibashi, that a fifth caste is added to the four usual ones, which springs from the mixture of the four older ones, namely the caste of the Samanyas. Whilst Manu, however, distinguishes four ashramas or statuses of life, okay? Statuses of life. The Mahanirvana Tantra teaches that there are only two ashramas in the Kali Yuga. Interesting. The status of the householder and the status of the ascetic. Okay. And interestingly, Raja Rammohan Roy was a practitioner of Mahanirvana Tantra. For the rest, everything which is taught in our Tantra about the duties towards parents, towards wife and child, towards relations and in general towards fellow men might find a place exactly in the same way in any other religious book or even in a profane manual of morals. As an example, we may quote only a few verses from this chapter 7. The duties of each of the castes as well as the duties of the king are not prescribed much differently from Manu in Tantra. Family life is estimated very highly by the Mahanirvana Tantra. So it is rigorously prescribed that no one is allowed to devote himself to the ascetic life who has children, wives or such like near relations to maintain. Family छोड़ के भाग मत जाओ भाई. Entirely in consonance with the prescriptions of the Brahmanic texts also are the quote-unquote sacraments from conception until the marriage, which are described in the 9th chapter of the Mahanirvana Tantra, or samskaras. Likewise in the 10th chapter, the direction for the disposal, okay? Likewise in the 10th chapter, the direction for the disposal and the cult of the dead, Shraddha, are given. A peculiarity of the Shaktas in connection with marriage consists in the fact that Side by side with the Brahma marriage, for which the Brahmanic prescriptions are valid, there is also a Shaiva marriage, that is a kind of marriage for a limited period, which is only permitted to the members of the chakra of the initiates, jinka diksha hua hai. But children out of such a marriage are not legitimate and do not inherit. So far, Brahmanic law applies also to the Shaktas, and so the section concerning civil and criminal law in the 11th and 12th chapters of the Mahanirvana Tantra substantially agree with Manu. Interesting. Electrical engineering is giving an interesting argument, but you see, here my counter argument, because I'm not saying that Dalit priests should go around with now trying to forcefully try to get the right to worship in every temple, or the in local village temples, etc., or already established famous temples, especially if they are run not by the government. There I don't see a point of doing those things. But why I would support Dalit priests in Ayodhya, in Ram Mandir, is because it's mostly a government affair. Okay, there is a lot of public effort at stake here, and so I think a new start can be made. And because especially if someone, a Dalit, has now been able to get trained to be a Purohit, how do you know that therefore they also did not have great Purvajanma samskara to achieve this place? Even though they were born in a Dalit family, they ended up being qualified to become priests. They learned Sanskrit, they learned all the rituals. How did they accomplish that? Their accomplish needs to be appreciated. And in the next birth, they will be born in Brahmin families. Caste is dwindling in the north, and Hindus are becoming more like Islamists in the regard that, but that is a good thing. Arya Samajis. Moreover, he was Baul. Deha Tattva of Baul can be categorized to Tantra only. Tantra do not follow caste. Going to temples was not aspirational before, but now it is becoming important. Yes, it has to become aspirational. Mahanirvana Tantra substantially agree. Of course, notwithstanding all this, the Kaula Dharma expounded in the Tantra is declared the best of all religions in an exuberant manner, and the veneration of the Kaula saint is praised as the highest merit. It is said in a well-known Buddhist text, quote, "As you monks, there is place for every kind of footprints of living beings that move in the footprint of the elephant, because, as is knowing indeed, the footprint of the elephant is the first in size amongst all. So you monks, all salutary doctrines are contained in the four noble truths." End quote. So it is said in the Mahanirvana Tantra, probably in recollection of the Buddhist passage, that, quote, "As the footprints of all animals disappear in the footprint of the elephant, so disappears all other religions or dharma in the Kula religion or Kula dharma." From what has been said, it is clear that ArthurAvalon, the author of this book, is right when he declares that up till now, this literature has been only too often judged and still more condemned without knowing it, and that the Tantra deserve to become better known than has been the case hitherto. So guy critical of Tantra himself is saying, अरे भाई पहले समझो इसको, मैंने समझा है इसलिए क्रिटिसाइज किया है, तुम बिना समझ के क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हो. From the point of view of the history of religion, they are already important for the reason that they have strongly influenced Mahayana Buddhism and especially the Buddhism of Tibet. It is therefore much to be welcomed that ArthurAvalon has undertaken to publish a series of texts and translations from this literature. It is true that we have no desire to be made acquainted with all the 3 into 64 tantras which are said to exist, because this should not be denied that for the greatest part these works contain, after all, only stupidity and gibberish. Okay, now here he is doing the unfair criticism, but he has tried to understand it as much as possible. This is especially true of the bijas and mantras. Unko mantra pasand nahi aaya hai. The mysterious syllables and words and the magic formulas which fill these volumes. To understand this gibberish only to a certain degree and to bring some sense into this stupidity, it is necessary to know the tantric meaning of the single vowels and consonants. Because amongst the chief instruments of the magic, which plays such a great part in these texts, belongs the spoken word. It is not the meaning embedded in the mantra which exercises power over the deity, but the word, the sound. Each sound possesses a special mysterious meaning. Therefore, there are special glossaries in which this mysterious meaning of the single vowels and consonants is taught. A few of such glossaries, indispensable helps for the sadhaka, or rather the pupil, who wants to develop himself into sadhaka, have been brought to light in the first volume of the series of tantric texts published by ArthurAvalon, the Mantra Vidhana belonging to the Rudrayamala, Ekaksara Kosha ascribed to Purushottama Deva, the Bija Nighantu of Bhairava, and two Matrika Nighantus, the one by Mahidhara, the other by Madhava. Added to these is one other auxiliary text of the same kind, the Mudra Nighantu, belonging to the Vamakeshwara Tantra, an enumeration of the finger positions as they are used in yoga. My point regarding writing down, archiving Vedas and all scriptures was to have as many chances of Hindu history to be saved from any possible extinction event like the European pagans. That's it. Yeah. Not only Paurohita, he can become a guru, sadhaka, and can give dikshas, and a Brahmin, now initiate, have to give the same respect to him or her that he would. Yeah, interesting. But let that be completely based on agama, because it will be great and also truthful. Ram temple is different issue, since we don't have family which used to worship in the temple before using SC or ST priestism. Yeah, exactly, Rakshit. And see, calling it political messaging would be a little unfair, because Ram temple should be a unifying point, because it's a fresh start to our country. We are doing a lot of great strong things after 800-900 years. So with that start, let's try to bring as much possible under the roof as possible. So especially because it's not a family thing or not a particular grama devta thing, therefore I am in favor of Dalit priests, because they are trained after all. Religion comes down from the Shastras. Yes, they do. There's a shlok in BG Bhagavad Gita where Arjun fears extinction of Kula Dharma due to war, but he means family system when he says Kula Dharma Sanatana. As per Tantra, a Dalit can become a Purohita, but not as per Smritis, I believe. Yeah, that seems that seems the case to me as well. Yes, Shiva Chandra Vidyarnava explains this beautifully in his Tantra Tattva. Okay. The second volume of the same series of texts contains the text of the Satchakra Nirupana, the description of the 6 circles, together with no less than 3 commentaries. The 6 circles are 6 places in the human bodies, the 6 chakras, imagined as lotus-shaped, of great mystical significance and therefore of great importance for yoga. The first of these circles is Mooladhara, which is described as a triangle in the middle of the body, with its point downwards and imagined as a red lotus with 4 petals on which are written the 4 golden letters Vam, Sam, Sam, Sham. In the center of this lotus is Swayambhulinga. At the root of this reddish brown linga, the Chitrini Nadi opens, through which the Devi Kundalini ascends, more delicate than a lotus fiber and more effulgent than lightning, and so on. The Satchakra Nirupana is the chapter of the Sri Tattva Chintamani, composed by Purnananda Swami. In addition, the volume contains the text of a hymn entitled Paduka Panchakam, which is said to have been revealed by Shiva, and a voluminous commentary. The third volume of the series contains the text of the Prapanchasara Tantra, which is ascribed to the Vedantic philosopher Shankaracharya, and by others it is ascribed to the deity Shiva in his incarnation as Shankaracharya. The name Shankara appears fairly often in Tantra literature, but it is not at all sure that the works in question really come from the philosopher. ArthurAvalon prefaces the text by a detailed description of the contents of the work. Prapancha means extension. Ejibon prapanchamoy. Prapancha means extension, the extended universe, from which Prapanchasara, the innermost being of the universe. The work begins with a description of creation, accompanied in the first two chapters by detailed expositions of chronology, embryology, anatomy, physiology, and psychology, which are exactly as quote unquote scientific as both the following chapters, which treat of the mysterious meaning of the letters of the Sanskrit alphabet and of the Bijas. So he's skeptical of this, as, of course. The further chapters, which partly contain rituals, partly prayers, meditations, and stotras, are of greater importance from the standpoint of the history of religion. To how high a degree in the Shakti cult the erotic element predominates is shown in chapter 923, where a description is given, quote, how the wives of the gods, demons, and demigods, impelled by mantras, come to the magician, the sadhaka, oppressed by the greatness of their desires, end quote. In chapter 18, the mantras and the dhyanas or meditations for the adoration of the god of love and his Shaktis are taught, and the union of man and woman is represented as a mystic union of the I, ahamkara, with perception, buddhi, and as a sacred sacrificial action. When a man honors his beloved wife in such a way, she will, struck by the arrows of the god of love, follow him like a shadow even in the other world. The chapter 18 is devoted to Ardhanarishwara, the god who is half woman. Shiva, represented as a wild-looking man, forms the right hand of the body, and his Shakti, represented as a voluptuous woman, the left hand half. Chapter 33, which seems to have originally closed the work, describes in its first part ceremonies against childlessness, the cause of which is indicated as lack of veneration of the gods and neglect of the wife. The second part is connected with the relation between teacher and pupil, which is of extreme importance for the Shakta religion. Indeed, worship of the guru, the teacher, plays a prominent part in this sect. However, the rituals and mantras described in this tantra are not exclusively connected with the different forms of the Devi and Shiva, but Vishnu and his avatars are also often honored. Chapter 35 contains a disquisition on Vishnu Trailokya Mohana, the enchanter of the triple world, in verses 35 to 47, translated by ArthurAvalon. It is a description glowing and sensuous. It says, Vishnu shines like millions of suns and is of infinite beauty, full of goodness, his eyes on Shri, his spouse, who embraces him, full of love. Which is why we call Sri Ram. Jai Sri Ram mein, that Sri means Masita. She too is of incomparable beauty. All the gods and demons and their wives offer homage to the august pair. The goddesses, however, press themselves in a burning yearning of love towards Vishnu, whilst exclaiming, be our husband, our refuge, august Lord. In august Lord का meaning क्या है? अगस्त मुनि है क्या? No, या फिर अगस्त. August Lord क्यों बोल रहा है? In addition to this passage, ArthurAvalon has also translated the hymns to Prakriti, to Vishnu, and to Shiva. Of these hymns, the same holds good as of the collection of hymns to the Devi, which ArthurAvalon, together with his wife, has translated in a separate volume. Wow, this British Calcutta High Court judge, his wife also became a Tantra practitioner. Yeah, I forgot. Whilst many of these texts are mere insipid litanies of names and epithets of the worshipped deities, there are others which, as to profoundness of the thought and beauty of language, may be put side by side with the best productions of the religious lyrics of the Indians. So the hymn to the Prakriti in the Prapanchasara begins with the words, be gracious to me, O Pradhana, who art Prakriti in the form of the elemental world. Life of all that lives, with folded hands I make obeisance to thee, our Lady, whose very nature it is to do that which we cannot understand. End quote. It is intelligible that the poets have found much more intimate cries of heart when they spoke of the deity as their mother than when they addressed themselves to God as father. So, for instance, it is said in a hymn to the goddess ascribed to Shankaracharya, quote, by my ignorance of thy commands, by my poverty and sloth, I had not the power to do that which I should have done. Hence my omission to worship thy feet. But, O Mother, auspicious deliverer of all this should be forgiven me. For a bad son may sometimes be born, but a bad mother never. O Mother, thou hast many sons on earth, but I, your son, am of no worth. Yet it is not meet that thou dost, and yet it is not meet, meaning it is not fair that thou shouldst abandon me, because a bad son may sometimes be born, but a bad mother never. O mother of the world, O mother, I have not worshipped thy feet, nor have I given abundant wealth to thee, yet the affection which thou bestowest on me is without compare, because a bad son may sometimes be born, but a bad mother never. ArthurAvalon looks with great sympathy on the Shakta religion, which has found the highest expression for the divine principle in the conception mother. He is of opinion that when the European thinks that it is a debasement of the deity to conceive of it as feminine, then this can only be because he quote unquote looks upon his mother's sex, gender, as lower than his own, and because he thinks it unworthy of the deity to conceive it otherwise than as a masculine, anything other than masculine. That the conception of the Indian and especially of the Shakta is in this connection the more unbiased and unprejudiced one, we will freely concede to Avalon. Wow. He's saying that, yeah, I agree with Avalon. He, however, goes still further and believes that the Tantras not only have an interest from the point of view of the history of religion, but that they also possess an independent value as manuals of sadhana, that is magic. However grateful we might be to the editor and translator of these texts for having made us better acquainted with a little known and much misunderstood Indian system of religion, we yet would hope to be saved from the possibility of seeing added to the Vedantists, Neo-Buddhists, Theosophists and other India faddists in Europe and America adherence to the sadhana of the Shakti cult. The student of religion cannot and may not leave the Tantras and Shaktism unnoticed. They have their place in the history of religion, but may this occultism, which often flows from very turbid sources, this word should not be translated as secret science, thus abusing the sacred name of science, but rather as mystery mongering. Okay, he's being harshly critical here. These, which often flows from very turbid sources, remain far away from our intellectual life. Our intellectual life meaning British intellectual life. To the above may be added a recent criticism of M. Mason Oursel of the Collège de France in the journal something, which is summarized and translated from the French. The obscurity of language, strangeness of thought, and rites sometimes adjudged scandalous have turned away from the study of the immense tantric literature, even the most courageous savants. Okay, he's saying that people are turned off by Tantra. And why? Because of the strangeness of language and thought in Tantra. If, however, the Tantras have appeared to be a mere mass of aberrations, it is because the key to them was unknown, which has now been finally popularized by Rajarshi Nandi. The Tantras are the culmination of the whole Indian literature. Wow. Look at this sentence. The Tantras are the culmination of the whole Indian literature. Into them flow both the Vedic and popular cults. Tantricism has imposed itself on the whole Hindu mentality. ArthurAvalon has undertaken with complete success a task which in appearance seems to be a thankless one, but is in reality fecund of results. Yes, it is a thankless job, especially because he's getting his appreciation after about 105 years. He wrote this book in 1918. We are reading it in 2023. The article of Dr. Winternitz deals largely with the Mahanirvana Tantra. Because objections cannot be easily found against this Tantra, the theory has been lately put forward by Dr. Farquhar in his last work on Indian literature that this particular scripture is exceptional and the work of Ram Mohan Roy's guru Hariharananda Bharati. Okay, because Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a Mahanirvana Tantra practitioner. The argument is in effect that all Tantras are bad, this is not bad, therefore it is not a Tantra. इनका premise ही है कि all tantras are necessarily bad, तो जो इनको लग रहा है कि not bad, वो बोल रहा है कि ये tantra ही है, नहीं है. वाह वाह वाह. In the first place, the MS referred to in the preface to A, to the other chapter, preface to ArthurAvalon's translation of this tantra, as having been brought to Calcutta, was an old manuscript. Okay, MS meaning manuscript. Okay. In the first place, the manuscript referred to in the preface to ArthurAvalon's translation of this tantra, as having been brought to Calcutta, was an old manuscript having the date Shakabdo 1300. Okay, so Bengali calendar 1300. We are in the 1400s now. That is several hundreds of years ago. Shakabdo is not Bengali calendar? No. I forgot. When is Shakabdo, guys?
Shakabda 1300, that is several hundreds of years ago. Secondly, the Mahanirvana, which belongs to the Vishnu Kranta, or as some say, Ratha Kranta, is mentioned in the Mahasiddhisara Tantra, an old copy of which was the property of Raja Sir Radhakanto Deb, 1783 born, died in 1867, a contemporary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, 1774 to 1833, who survived the latter's son. Okay, Raja Ram Mohan Roy's son के age तक जीवित थे. Yeah, since Ram Mohan Roy passed away in 1833. The earliest edition of that tantra by Ananda Chandra Vedanta Vagish was published from a text in the Sanskrit College Library, which is not likely to have had amongst its manuscripts one which was the work of a man who, whatever be the date of his death, must have died within a comparatively short period of the publication of this edition. In fact, the catalogue describes it as an old manuscript and an original tantra. Dr. Rajendralal Mitro, in his notice of a manuscript of the Tagore collection, speaks of it as containing only the first half of 14 chapters. This is so. The second half is not published and is very rare. The Pandit's copy to which reference was made in the preface to ArthurAvalon's translation of the Mahanirvana contained both parts. How comes it that if the Tantra was written by Raja Ram Mohan Roy's Guru, that we have only the first half and not the second half containing, amongst other things, the so-called magic or Satkarma? It should be mentioned that there are three Tantras, the Nirvana, Brahma Nirvana and Mahanirvana Tantras, similar to the group Nila, Brihan Nila and Mahanila Tantras. It is to be noted also that in the year 1293 BS क्या year है? Bongabdo, I don't know, or 1886, and 1293 BS. If it's 1886, then it would be, I think, Bongabdo, the Bengali calendar. 1293 BS or 1886, an edition of the Mahanirvana was published with commentary by a sannyasin calling himself Shankaracharya under the auspices of the Dandasabha of Manikarnika Ghat, Banaras, which contains more verses than is contained in the text, commented upon by Hariharananda, who is the guru of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and the interpretation of the latter as also that of Jagmohan Tarkalankara. They are in several matters controverted. We are asked to suppose that Hariharananda was both the author of and commentator on the Tantra. That the Mahanirvana has its merits is obvious, but there are others which have their merits. The same critic speaks of the Prapanchasara as a rather quote-unquote foul work. This criticism is ridiculous. The text is published for anyone to judge. All that can be said is what Dr. Winternitz has said, namely that there are a few passages with sensuous erotic imagery. These are descriptive of the state of women in love. What is wrong here? There is nothing foul in this except for people to whom all erotic phenomena are foul. This is a very, he says, an elder lady had told to Byron that this is a very indecent picture, who retorted, "Madam, the indecency consists in your remark." अरे ये तो वो पूरा रिप्लाई है, तुम्हारे दिमाग, तुम्हारे सोचने के तरीके में गंदगी है. It cannot be too often asserted that the ancient East was purer in these matters than the modern West, where under cover of a prudently modest exterior, a cloaca of extraordinarily varied psychopathic filth may flow. क्या criticism दिया. This was not so in earlier days, whether of East or West, when a spade was called a spade and not a horticultural instrument. क्या trolling कर रहा है ये? In America, it is still, I am told, considered indecent to mention the word leg. Okay, in America, one must say limb. Leg mat bolo. Said Tertullian, quote, nature, अरे भाई कौन सा भाषा का है ये? Where the knower venerates, the unknowing critic blushes. Okay? जहाँ पे कोई जिसको पता है वो किसी को रेस्पेक्ट देता है, पूजा करता है, जो कि अननोन इग्नोरेंट क्रिटिक है, उसको पसंद नहीं आता है वो. The Prapanchasara, which does not even deal with the right, with the right against which most objection has been taken, while the Mahanirvana Tantra does, वो certain aspects of Tantra जो कि criticize होते हैं, treats of the creation of the world, the generation of bodies, physiology, the classification of the letters, the kalas, initiation, japa, homa, the Gayatri mantra, and ritual worship of various devatas and so forth, with facts in short which are not quote-unquote foul, with or without the qualifying of so-called rather foul, quote unquote rather. This is the end of this chapter. Next chapter we will do next day is Shakti and Shakta. The name of the book is the name of this chapter apparently. Interesting. How long is this chapter? Oh yeah, pretty big chapter. Yeah, we will do this next day. Oh, let me check some comments now. Let me get into the comment section and converse and debate a little. Let's see what's going on. Bhakti Marga is already there. Goddang, why do we want to interfere in Shakta tradition? Goddang's point is they are using ground mobilization there, and in this situation it can be more effective since a poor laborer in a remote village of Punjab would have nothing to do with complex religio-philosophical debates. Rakshit, but the point is that Xians are using the caste weakness to convert the masses quickly. We cannot do ghar wapsi like them if we go by electrical and Rishi's methods. That's why we have to adapt. Exactly as Rusty said, he made my point clearly. Oh, nice. Yeah, see, this is the point of a great debate where no one gets pissed off with the other person. None of you all are hating each other for being pro-casteism or anti-casteism. We are having a great conversation where at the end of the day points of agreements are coming about. क्योंकि हम तो एक दूसरे के enemy after all नहीं है. हमको एक दूसरे के साथ points of agreement ढूंढना ही है. It's not like with everyone we need a point of agreement all the fucking time, but we do need a point of agreement. Protecting tradition and fighting missionary are different issues and requires different strategies. That is true. The situation here is different than other parts. If you cannot simplify tradition here and there, yeah, that is the work that has been done by Arya Samaj, Brahmo Samaj to some extent. Although Brahmo Samaj has eliminated Hindu tradition largely. The situation here is different, yeah. When Christianity was in full swing in Kerala, Advaitin Swamikai wrote that and challenged Christians there. They all debated with him and lost in debate with Swamikal. Swamikal or Swamikai? Yeah, Swamikal. Stop. You and Rishi do not follow the situation on the ground where Bengal is facing Islamists. We are facing Khalistanis and Xians as well as Islamists as multiplying in Batla area. We have to fight fire with fire. Understand that it is the situation in Punjab and Haryana debate will not work here. They do not listen. We have to fight them the Kshatriya way. Are papre. Again, your Satyarth Prakash. 13th chapter is debunked by South Indian Protestant group. Kiya Khandan Kiya re. No. Okay, you are idiots. अच्छा यहाँ पे झगड़ा already हो चुका है lol. Here I kind of agree with you. Yeah, you kind of agree with you. चलने दो और बीच में idiot भी बोल दो. ठीक ही है. If you want to do Khandan of Christianity, do it like Christu Mata Chedanam by Advaitin Swamikal. They still not able to answer back. I see. Goddamn, teaching them to all is not the solution. Making people realize that their identity, as with caste, is hinged upon shastras and not vacuum. Therefore, making them good astikas is more important. No, because you see that this point is an important point. This is a pretty common and significant point. That is one way to go, but only in theory, because convincing them that they are not higher and lower than someone, especially if that so-called higher being in society, because of his past life's actions, is a person today who does not know Sanskrit or does not read any scripture, then it's an even bigger problem. Then we can't even start having a conversation who is on the verge of conversion or is almost an Nastik. Okay, that is the problem. In theory, your solution is great. Many solutions do work in theory. Will Hindus get affected by anti-immigrant reaction from whites in the West due to Islamism? Yeah, they will to some extent on the streets, etc. So now is the time to not look like people who do get attacked. Okay, maybe everyone should wear sari, pajama, Punjabi, tika, etc. to show them that अरे भाई हम वो नहीं है. Because they are really dumb. They don't know the difference between Hindu, Muslim, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. सबको मार भगाएंगे. Every correction is an over correction. तो over correction जब आएगा हिंदुओं पे आएगा ही. Okay then. See you soon, guys. I'll sit with the voiceovers now. Hopefully you all share it around. Thanks for joining the live stream. We had a great discussion. Thank you for joining.